Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I want to reveal my final projects for the Roxy Journal of Stitchery Volume 4. Firstly, I'd like to thank Sarah and Rachel and their support crew, Juju, for putting this project on again. You cannot imagine how much time and energy and thought goes into hosting a program like this. It is just fantastic. Not only do they have their own businesses and careers behind the scenes, that they do this as well for all of us. And it is free. Unbelievable, ladies. You guys are just the best. So, having said that, I feel privileged to be able to join the party again. And I've finally narrowed down my 4 projects. I did start with 7, I was brainstorming. I've also finally narrowed down my colours. It's been really helpful seeing all of the different mood boards because it's helped me go, oh, okay, I do love that, but not as much as that or that or that. So it's really brought my thoughts into clarity. So my project is going to be called the Seamstress. Now, who's the Seamstress? Well, first of all, that's my grandmother. She was a seamstress. She sewed to raise money for the family, and through the Depression, it really, really helped because it was tough out there. She was very good at reclaiming, reusing, and upcycling anything she could get her hands on. So it just fits perfectly with the slow stitch world. If she was here today, she would be so into all of these activities. The second seamstress is my mum. Now, she wasn't as prolific as my grandmother, but she was one of those seamstresses that'd have a go. She made a lot of our clothing when we were small children and knitted and a little bit of crocheting, but mainly knitted. Grandma was the matriarch. She did a little bit of everything and was a judge in the local shows for all of those handiwork, sewing, all sorts of things. So the seamstress just seemed to be a fitting title. Then you get to me. Now, I don't know where I fit in all this, but I am a bit of a seamstress. When I first started discovering clothes and wanting my own choices, sewing was definitely my outlet. I used to make all my own clothes till I was probably 19. Then when I moved to Brisbane, I discovered that clothing was sort of cheaper to buy off the shelf. But when I was in the rural community, making your clothes was definitely part of my entire childhood because you just didn't have the racks of clothes in the local little country towns. So sewing for me for clothing has sort of dropped away. I haven't made something for myself for many, many years. So Honey Bear is going to be great for me to have a go at making some doll's clothes, so to speak, and then bringing her into a colour scheme that I think best suits her eyes. Hey, Honey Bear, that colour scheme, I don't know yet, but I have plenty to drift across, and I think as I sort of start working the projects, Honey Bear's outfit will come together. Okay, now in front of me I have all of my inspiration, and I'm going to unpack it and tell you about the 4 projects that I'm going to be doing for the next 6 months. So number 1, as you know, Honey Bear. She was easy. She is getting a new outfit from the seamstress. Now, I'll move Honey Bear out of the way, and you will see this cross stitch. This was a cross stitch I did in the 80s when cross stitch was huge, and Marianne and I were doing heaps of them. She did a beautiful wedding one that she still has framed on her wall, the bride and the date that her and her husband married. I did this one. I've never framed it. It's been rolling around in the cupboard for years. So project number 2 for me is to do something with this. Now, my inspiration, if I bring in Mandy's book, is this. Now, Mandy has an existing tapestry and she has pieced around it some of her favourite fabrics. So this is along the lines of what I'll be doing. I'll be collaging into the piece. So it'll be needing to go on some backing fabric, and then I can start embellishing it from there. And my color palette is this. So that is project number 2, the Seamstress cross stitch panel, and it's going to be reds and pinks. Now, the next thing I want to show you before we get to the fabric is the mannequin. Now, being that Grandma was the seamstress, I decided to present a piece of work that best encapsulated her was to use a mannequin. So my plan is, and I've ordered this mannequin, to embellish this with all of the treasures connecting to my grandmother. So being that I'm an okay seamstress, but not, you know, really, really good, I decided to find a dress that would be my base so that I could build on this dress and then take the dress off, and I would still have a mannequin if I decided to do another project. It took a bit to work out the mechanics of this. Was I going to stitch and glue directly onto the mannequin, and then the mannequin would be totally encapsulated forever and a day? And I decided I did want it to be a little bit more versatile than that. Plus, I can then bring the dress or panels of the dress to the camera and stitch and add on, and then it can be hung on the mannequin. So that's project number 3. Now, the little dress, I found this on Etsy. It was reasonably priced. The fabric alone to buy and make that, I just felt like I was on a bit of a winner. It's inspired by the 1950s. I'm hoping it will fit my mannequin beautifully because I think this is a little size 10 and my mannequin's about that size. I love the fact we have these little cap sleeves, so that makes my mannequin's arms that are missing not look so gruesome. I have a high little neckline here that brings fabrics right up to the nape of the neck. I have a solid bodice, a waistline, and then there's an overlay skirt there of lace that I can either detach or build upon. Not sure yet. But the mannequin is going to be a celebration of not only Grandma's sewing, but also the wedding side of things. So there's going to be a bit of bling on there, and I think, now this is where I get to color palettes. I'm still flip-flopping around. I know the style, I now know my projects, but I guess the exact color combinations is still a little bit up in the air, which brings me to the 4th project. So we've got Honey Bear, the cross-stitch panel, the mannequin, and the final project is the journal. So let me just grab the journal next. Now I have this beautiful old book that I got from Rachel some time ago, and I've been saving it for a special task. And I think this is it. This is going to be the seamstress journal of her creations. So in here already, I've grabbed some treasures of Grandma's in the way of crocheted elements that have been started and not quite finished. I have patterns from her stash where she has been, I guess something has caught her eye and she's decided to order it by mail order. So I have all these little ephemeras. She was a huge crocheter. So I have a selection of crocheting books. Now I'm not saying that these will end up in the journal, but they will be somewhere in the 4 projects. Does that make sense? Whether it be, hang on, I'm just grabbing another book. Where is it? Oh, it's not here. I've got this crocheting book that has, oh, it's behind my chair. Hang on one moment, guys. These two. Now these books have been intriguing me for some time, especially this one. When I look at old crocheting patterns, I find that these really old ones, I don't know, they're written in a language that's just not quite grabbing my abilities, let us say. So I've been looking for a more modern take on old patterns. So I've come into the late 70s into the 80s and I found this. What I'd like to do as part of my project is pull out the crocheting hook and have a go at some of these trimmings, these edgings. Now they're on everything. They're on all my doilies, they're on the handkerchiefs, they're just right through my craft table. So I'd like to add to my journal an area where I do a little bit of a study on some crocheted edgings. Now, I don't think I'm going to get to this degree, but I really love this type of crochet. I honestly think it's a little bit above my pay grade. Now, this one piece in here that I do want to show you is the peacock. It is stunning. Excuse me. There it is. Look at that. I don't think I can pull that off. But, oh, I'm so enjoying looking at it. So the element of crocheting and the skill of crocheting will be coming into this project somehow, because it really does connect me back to the seamstress. So the journal. Now let me just pop these little precious treasures away. So that's my 4 projects: Honey Bear, the cross stitch, the mannequin, and the journal. So let's get to the palette. What colors am I going to be using? Now, as I said, I'm still thinking. I'm still looking across the range. Now, first of all, before we get into the fabrics, let's have a look at the seamstress. Now, this is my grandmother and her bridesmaids and her flower girl. Now, she made her dresses, of course, and I just thought that this photo was just such a beautiful, what's the words? Pigment of colour. I like that old pink, the old green. I've added blue in and I've added red in, but it just gives you that feeling of that age, which leads me to my fabrics. Now, I'm going to zoom up. I've decided just to lay them all out so that you can have a little bit of a look in general. Now, when I was at a recent craft show, there was a retailer there called, now I hope I get this right, the Linen Lady, I think. I will try and track it down. I just don't know if I can, because it was at a craft fair at probably about 4 years ago. Having said that, the Craft Alive fair is currently, I think, in Bendigo, and I'm sure I saw a post about a week ago of this very business that sells French linens and French fabrics. Now, I bought 2 packs from her. There was a blue pack, and then there was a red pack, and then mixed in amongst it all was a little bit of this lilac with a little bit more blue. But I'm pretty sure this was 2 packs. They were quite substantial. They cost me a fortune. But I've been hoarding them, not knowing what I was going to do with them. So they are going to be the base to my fabric. Now, as for Honey Bear can drift across all of them. She can pick one of them. She can do a combination of 2 of them if she so chooses. That's up to her. She's yet to get back to me on that. Now, as for the mannequin, I've got a little bit of bling here. Now, I've gone through my treasures, and this is the lace that my mum's overcoat was. She had a very straight wedding dress, as in straight to the floor, and she had the basic dress made out of a satin, and then there was a lace overcoat, a jacket that sort of went over the whole piece, but still very straight and long sleeves, just so elegant and slimline. Now I think I've got a photo here. Yes, I did. That's it there. So if I bring that up, there's this lace over jacket, and then her dress sits in behind there. And look at the bridesmaids. How trendy was she? And there's the fabric. That was the dresses for the girls. Look at the hair. Oh, hello, Auntie Bernice. That's her sister. My godmother's. Very cool. Very, very cool. So, there's my grandparents. My grandmother on my dad's side was also a sewer. I have some of the jewellery that she is wearing on that wedding day tucked away, ready to come out for my project. There's my grandmother, and there's my grandparents, my granddads. There's my mum. I have that watch. So there's some of these, I have that badge. Some of these little treasures may appear on my pieces. I'm a little bit reluctant to put too much of the bling on my mannequin, which would be the place to put it, because I am concerned that someone would break in and steal my pieces. Having said that, on the recent burglary, I think they took one look at my craft room and said, nah, nothing of value in there. So maybe it is the best place to hide all the brooches and blingy bits from my family on pieces. Who knows? But the mannequin would be a perfect way to display them. Now, where was I? The other bits and pieces I have here are just some collected laces and trims that would have gone over my grandmother's sewing table. Not the pieces, but definitely part of the world of wedding dresses. So the mannequin is going to have a bit of bling on it. Now, underneath here, I have some trims that I bought back from my recent Paris trip, and I believe that they fit in beautifully. I also have to one side all of my Paris fabrics, so I'll definitely be nibbling little pieces out of those. And I've purchased some packs of fabric from Susanna as part of her Paris finds, and they will all go beautifully collaged in around my cross-stitch piece. Now, I also have a couple pieces of very old linen, and this piece here, it just feels like grandmother. She would have patched. Well, she did. She unpicked collars and added them to other outfits because the collar wasn't worn, but the dress may have been. So she was very thrifty. I'm not sure if this is project number 5. I've written down on my notes to the side the blue panel. Now, I don't know if I will have time to work this panel, but it certainly is inspiration and fits the seamstress. This would be the 5th project, and I just don't think I'm going to get time to do that. But I've added it to my pile because it fits the colours. Maybe, I don't know, stay tuned. If we find that I'm cruising along and I've got time, the 5th project may come into play. Down here I have 2 scarves that I've recently purchased, and they are just the most beautiful fabrics. I don't know if I'm going to cut them up and use them, or I'm going to adorn them. So they're just here as inspiration. They're part of the palette of colours. So that's where we're at. We know what we're going to do now. We know the colours. We have a mood board. Now I want to take the concept of the mood board just one step further and try and work out the exact colour combinations that potentially will be going into these pieces, these projects. So that's where my journal comes back into play. So what I want to do is I want to start prepping my journal so that it is useful. So I'm going to need some pages. The other thing I want to do is to create some small mood boards while we wait for the project to kick off, which will be collage pieces together, stitched down as part of my journey through the project, which will be in the journal. Does that make sense? So you see where the journal is going to be, I guess, where all my thoughts, ideas, a sample goes, where if I want to do something on the mannequin and I'm not sure how it's going to come to be, maybe it's drafting a piece of the outfit, you know, we add a collar or we want to embellish a sleeve. Maybe I need somewhere to sketch, somewhere to do a small sample, maybe piecing together some of the elements that might go onto it. Well, the journal is going to hold everything to do with the big projects, the biggest being the mannequin, Honey Bear, her outfits, the mood boards done into small samples will help Honey Bear to choose which outfit she would like. So that's my first step. I'm going to now create in the next few videos small mood boards using these fabrics and some of these trims to help me, I guess, narrow down where I'm going to head with the colours behind all of these projects. Okay, that's it. We have a plan, guys. I will leave it at that. I still need a few days sort of to think and percolate, because now that I've got this, I sort of feel like I can now have a think about each individual project and where it's going to sort of go. Does that make sense? Okay, everyone. I think that's all I wanted to say. I will leave you all alone now. Have a lovely day. A bit of a shorter video for me, but I think I've got a bit more thinking to do, and I'll start preparing the journal in the next video and getting some mini mood boards happening so that our honey girl can come along and say, I would like to wear blue, red, purple, or all of them. All right, Honey Bear, I feel like a child again playing with my teddy. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so good to have you around again, Honey Bear. Love you. See you, everyone. Bye.